Now, Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer is facing discord on his backbenches after he vowed in a speech yesterday evening not to take Britain back into the EU single market or customs union. It comes, of course, as he faces a treacherous time in his leadership, preparing to learn whether or not he'll be fined over Beergate. Curiously, this speech last night, which promised to sort out the Northern Ireland Protocol, was delivered in front of supporters in the Irish Embassy in London. Well, our Northern Ireland reporter, Dougie Beattie, is outside Stormont to give us the latest on how Labour's plans might impact trade and peace. Dougie, I'm really interested in the optics of this. Why would Sir Keir Starmer deliver his speech about accepting Brexit, about making Brexit work? Why would he deliver that in the embassy of the Republic of Ireland?
It is beyond reason, and in fact, unionists have said to me here this morning that they too cannot believe that he did that. He spent a short time in Dublin about 3 weeks ago. I was there with him. Then he moved to Belfast. Unionists are saying that he's totally missing the point. Even Tony Blair, the last leader Labour ever to be elected, has said that the protocol is not compatible with the Good Friday Agreement. Something has to go because it breaks Article 6 in the Acts of the Union. It takes Northern Ireland out of that trading bloc inside the UK. It also calls into account, I suppose, any constitutional issues around the border, and most of all, in amongst the common travel area, where when the Republic of Ireland and Great Britain were both together, either inside or outside the EU, it made sense to have that common travel area. Now what we have is people that are not British coming into Dublin, coming across a borderless island, getting on a ferry and going straight into Britain. So the outworkings of that will be that in a very short space of time, we will end up with British citizens in Northern Ireland having to show their passports to get back into Britain. Emily Thornberry, obviously, this morning talking about veterinary agreements with the EU. There's always been veterinary agreements and checks on animals coming from the UK into Northern Ireland. We have horses, cattle as well, always checked. That's how blue tongue and TB and foot and mouth mainly keeps out of the island of Ireland. But it's the checks on products that are already made, ready meals, etc., sandwiches, that are causing the huge problems here. Keir Starmer doesn't seem to have connected with people who want to be British. When he came back from Dublin, lots of unionist politicians were saying to me, admiring Micheál Martin, the Irish Taoiseach, or Prime Minister if you like, of how he defended Ireland. And they were wanting somebody to stand up for the British. And of course, Keir Starmer was meant to do that, and he hasn't done, and he continues to aim for this middle ground. You can basically say that in that election that was won the last time by Boris Johnson and the Tories was more about defending Britain than it was about trying to appease those in the EU camps, and that's why such a majority came back. And I suppose Keir Starmer has went down a very wrong road with this.
Yeah, I've been reading the 5 pledges that Sir Keir Starmer made last night. Everything from the incredibly specific pledge to sort out the protocol, whatever that might mean, but also, of course, travelling musicians around Europe and a veterinary agreement, that sort of stuff. It all seems very marginal. It doesn't seem like it's either particularly specific or particularly meaningful. And I just wonder, how on earth is the Labour leader proposing to, quote, unquote, sort out the protocol? Hasn't the British government been talking with the EU, talking with the Irish Republic for the last 2 years to no avail? Surely there needs to be stronger tactics here.
Well, you're completely correct. The Irish, I spent last week, or the week before last, in Dublin doing about, if a trade war happened, there's £65 billion a year travels between Great Britain and the Irish Republic. They have a very small gross domestic product, and £65 billion would be about 30% of their income. They don't want a trade war. If that happened, it would hurt them substantially. And they have said they want to negotiate. The EU are saying there is no negotiation, and there's a number of reasons for that. And the first would be, if they reopen negotiations, they would have to be ratified by the Europeans, every single country. And then you would have a position with the likes of Estonia and Poland, who are depending on British help at this minute, would have to sanction Britain in a trade war. Europe doesn't want to go down that road. It doesn't feel it could win that way. Britain's actually sitting in a very strong negotiating place at the moment, and most people are feeling that at the time of the referendum, if Britain had have moved and moved quickly, it would have got whatever it wanted. Instead, that gap in the middle caused the negotiations to go the way of the EU and for them to regroup. And now this again, with this gesturing from one to the other, is actually causing those negotiations to look weak at what they're doing. And if anything, it could force it to go very much the other way.
Well, Dougie, it's a really interesting situation, and I'm just still fascinated about the optics of this announcement from the leader of the Labour Party last night. Thank you so much for explaining the bitty detail there for us. Dougie Beattie, of course, our Northern Ireland reporter.